I'm a dad of 3 girls, and my middle one, since she was about 1, has loved playing with baby dolls. Like obsession, overload, and ultimately, she has just needed a lot of them. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. As much as she loved to play all things baby, ultimately we just had to keep buying more and more babies, not because the others were wore out, but I mean, you can't ever have too many babies in the house, right? You need 2 for the playroom, 5 for the main living room, and boy, I need to make sure that there are multiple ones in her room for the sake that she can play with them in there too. Now, to be fair, I think she still plays with most of them, but there came a point where in order to get a new baby, gotta get rid of a few. Or how about this? I'm a sucker for new technology. I watch when I can upgrade for free to the newest iPhone, as I don't think mine's gonna work well enough after 2 years of use, obviously. Now, sometimes it might not, but most times I could probably go a lot longer without buying a new phone, even if I can get a good deal. Same as some of the stuff in this unit right that I'm sitting in. And I feel like this is a lot of us, always wanting the next thing because the thing we thought was going to fulfill us or bring us contentment, well, it only did for such a short amount of time. Ever feel that way? I know I do a lot. I bet you've had moments too. So today, I'm going to talk about contentment, satisfaction, fulfillment. 3 words that represent exactly the reason why I'm sitting in this overloaded storage unit. Why? Because my house can't fit this stuff. But I sure needed it. I craved it. I bought it all thinking that it was going to bring me exactly what I needed. And now, sure, it might have for small moments of time, and some of it did, but if I could find it, maybe it would fulfill what I need to. But most of it, well, it's just here. This represents our desire, really in a crazy Western world, to just consume, because, I need the 5th shovel because you know what? I just need it because it'll allow me to be content. But I mean, this storage unit right here represents ultimately kind of like my kids' playroom. Every single toy brings satisfaction, but ultimately they only play with a certain amount of toys, or maybe that dirt bike behind me. But eventually everything just kind of goes unnoticed until you start going through the cleaning process, and then heaven forbid, you actually get rid of something, right? Because you haven't seen it or played with it in a couple of years. But you know what? I need to play with it right now because you found it. But I think this paints a great picture of our desire to really fulfill our needs with just stuff. It tells us we'll be satisfied or content, but it only lasts for such a short amount of time. We just forget certain things that once brought fulfillment, even fulfilled us. And they just get stored up because we needed the next, the newest, most popular thing, like the 4 coolers sitting behind me. Now, am I saying going out and buying stuff is a bad thing? No. There are certain things we need. But if we took a deep inner look at the things we consume, I'm sure there are things we would say, yeah, thought it would have been satisfying, but yeah, trust me, I'm guilty with this just as much as anybody. Or maybe it's not even stuff. Maybe it becomes this delusional reality that my family needs to be like the wonderful phrase, right? The Joneses. Not necessarily with stuff, but even maybe with the vacations I take, the way my family looks, the crowds that I might need to hang out in, all thinking that if we were just like that, then life would feel content, satisfied. It would bring that ultimate fulfillment that I need. When I think about all of this, it points me back to a verse in the Bible. It's in the book of Matthew, which is the first book in the New Testament, and Jesus is giving his famous Sermon on the Mount. And he's talking about all kinds of topics, one of those being contentment. And he says this, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal." Storage unit kind of feels a little convicting right now. But he goes on to tell us what we should do though. Store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Ultimately, instead of being maybe discontent with the stuff that we have, instead of buying the next thing, how about maybe go serve someone? Maybe be generous to somebody. Find a need, fill it. These things will bring more contentment because he concludes the little section with this: for where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. He wants our hearts focused on the right things. Sometimes we just need to be content. Stop seeking after more for ourselves and allow maybe blessing others, loving others. Ultimately, just maybe loving Jesus be enough. Our hearts lead us to the way we live. And if you don't know Jesus, he really is the only way to find true contentment. His love for you really is enough. He is true satisfaction, true fulfillment. And he says this, I am the way, I am the truth, and the life. He says, I came to give you life, and life to the fullest. And all of that starts with trusting and believing in him. Believing you don't need all these things. All you need is Jesus to bring contentment to your life and a relationship with him. And in this, you will start to allow a heart that is filled with him to lead you to a new way of living, contentment in a life with him.